Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Camden. It is August 16th, 2021. This was a busy weekend, wasn't it? I'm going to jump around quite a bit from, of course, Afghanistan, some climate change things, some civil war, of course, the Taliban, right? COVID measures, as little as I can. Canada snap elections. We're going to jump right into it here. OPEC, Middle Eastern oil, sees no need to meet the U.S. call for more supply. OPEC and its allies, including Russia, believe the oil markets do not need more oil, and they plan to release in the coming months, despite the U.S. pressure to add supplies to check the oil prices. My first take is mostly because the international market is kind of cool with the oil prices. They aren't seeing the same kind of demand as the United States is, mostly probably because they are able to make lots of their own oil. Of course, ironically enough, one of the first things Joe Biden did was cancel the Keystone Pipeline. We were making lots of our own oil. We were able to keep up with our own oil production. And that's not something we're doing anymore, right? I'll just say it this way. A lot of the Biden administration White House, it's in a panic mode on a lot of things, right? I don't know why that's really surprising. We'll say it that way. It's a critical moment in global recovery. Sure. But we could have been doing a lot of our own recovery had we had our own infrastructure. For an administration that is trying to pass a massive infrastructure bill, it certainly wasn't worried about this version of infrastructure, right? Now, also in America, Mayor Bill de Blasio of NYC is moved to require proof of vaccine for indoor dining, gyms, entertainment, calling it a key to NYC pass. You want to imagine they can do all these amazing things in New York. This is a miraculous place, literally full of wonders. If you're vaccinated, that is all going to open up to you. You have the key, you can open the doors. If you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. That's the point we're trying to get across. Incentives, right? I mean, they are trying to incentivize this quote-unquote life-saving act. I'm not going to spend much time talking about it because we obviously see through this pandering, see through this political agendizing, right? Just wanted to cover the fact that they are point blank calling it like it is and saying you can do this with, you can't without. Now, in North America, many of you will know topically from news that Haiti was hit with a really big earthquake. The death toll has climbed to 1,297, but it's not stopping. A 7.2 magnitude earthquake. There's still an unknown number of missing people. Here you have a photo of the earthquake, of its epicenter right there on that peninsula part of the island of Haiti. Now, it's not stopping because it's seemingly immediately, exclusively in that part of Haiti, you have a tropical storm Grace coming. It's quoted to begin hitting landfall early tomorrow night, this morning. There's an untold impact that it will have. You've got the Haiti is a nation just as much in shambles as anything. This whole area of the Caribbean is really interestingly being affected right now. There is a massive Havana Syndrome outbreak. It is apparently, directed by microwave attacks. There's lots of, top aides. Mysterious illness affecting scores of diplomats, spies, and their family members are still struggling to find evidence to back up the leading theory. The leading theory is microwave attacks being launched by Russian agents. I'll call bullshit. I think this is a HARP thing. We'll take sources from Telegram here. Our friends and human beings brought up a lot of amazing things. Look at this video right here. This is a geomagnetic storm. It is spiraling outward from Havana specifically. I mean, you can also see here in a radar Havana itself, the city practically untouched. A lot of this weather, from the earthquakes, from the tropical storms, from the wildfires to floods to all of it. I mean, I don't like to say it seems fake because it's not fake, but it does seem manufactured, we'll say, right? Okay. Meanwhile, the CIA is investigating. Great. I'm glad they're on the case. That's a source I trust, right? Unfortunate. Speaking on these kind of global climate change things, just me personally found something really, really interesting this weekend. Here we have Google Earth, right? You've got, some beautiful satellite imagery. You go down to the South Pole here. Okay, there's our really weird, chopped up, pasted and cut together version of Antarctica. Not going to stipulate anything. Those that know me know how I feel about the map, right? But this is ice. This is like definitely ice, okay? Now if we zoom out here and go to the said North Pole. Wait a minute, guys. That's all water. Like, I know there's no land in the North Pole, but isn't there an ice shelf? Well, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. And if we zoom in right here, this is one of my favorite things. It looks like they forgot to delete some of the ice. I mean, amateurs. What is this thin line right here? There's water. There's ice. I mean, all of this imagery is copyrighted Google Earth 2021. Okay? Did they go ahead and delete the ice shelf because, climate change is real? I mean, I'm just saying. It's strange. It doesn't make sense to me because, I mean, you read online, they'll quote that Google Earth uses depth imagery of the ocean. It's showing the land masses and topography under the ice shelf and blah, blah, blah. But I thought we were doing satellite imagery. I thought this was satellite imagery. It seems really apparent that they forgot to delete this little sliver of ice. Like, why? I mean, they gotta leave their clues. They gotta leave their hints for those of us that'll notice. Moving on, in the Middle East, rocket fire at Israel from Gaza, first since May assault. There seems to be a heating up again. I mean, I would really, really be disappointed for fighting to break out in the West Bank that same kind of way again already. And when so much of the Taliban and Israel and Russia and China and so much of this political warfare ideology, political takeovers is happening, I mean, constant distraction, constant warmongering and fear mongering, we're going to get into Israel. Not Israel. We're going to get into Afghanistan shortly. But some weird things going on there that are just under the mainstream news coverage. In France, there's warning from a new military letter, warning of a brewing civil war. Lots of soldiers have signed this. There is practically civil war breaking out everywhere. Maybe this isn't, nations fighting nations, but you could take even the Taliban taking control of Kabul as a form of civil war. You could take the conflict in Israel, Hamas and Palestine and the government as forms of civil war. You could take France here as forms of civil war. Antifa versus anti-maskers in LA, you could take as form of civil war. I mean, it seems like that's the new breakout. I just hope the right side, the correct side, the freedom of the people side does all of this right. They have so far. I admit they absolutely have so far. They've lost in some places. They are losing in some places, but they are doing things right and bloodlessly, as far as I've seen. Please, anyone correct me. In Canada, Justin Trudeau recently called and disbanded all of Parliament. He has called for a snap election. To our Canadian viewers, I would love to hear any of your takes on what this snap election really means. It is my understanding that, traditionally speaking, people of the Canadian Congress are appointed. Okay? So this isn't an appointment. This is a snap election. Do you guys think that this will allow people to vote actual political ideologies that they are in favor of? Do you think that this is an underhanded backroom kind of compliancy with, if any of you know, the self-appointed Queen of Canada, Romalo Didulo? Is this a real free and fair election? You know, I want to know these things. I do not live in Canada. I do not get a first-hand look at these. But the way that I see it, it's a scramble. Things maybe that Justin Trudeau thought he was going to get to be able to pass aren't going to pass that way. Maybe he's having to comply to other powers that be. Something I want to talk about here, Operation Sidewinder, staying on Canada, the Chinese invasion of Canada. Operation Sidewinder is an interesting leak, basically stipulating that Chinese Premier and Prime Minister Trudeau announced that Canada and China have launched an exploratory talks talking about the possibility of negotiation of trade deal. In the past, though, Canadian officials have expressed reservations about issues of labor standards, environmental protections. Okay, but they've really worked their way in there. They have slowly, vied for more control, for more lobbying ability and power. Over 200 Canadian businesses are listed in Project Sidewinder operating in Canada, all secretly controlled by the Chinese government. It says here, thousands of Chinese intelligence agents based in Canada. China has already invaded. Canada's overseas Chinese leader Chen Bingding, lawyer, ambassador to China, raised new height for Sino. Okay, so it seems like, through very accredited, I'll link this page actually in the description for you to work through it yourselves. This is the Civilian Intelligence Network.ca. Spent billions on infrastructure to build Vancouver Port, road, rail, building linking Western Canada to China. Richmond, BC is already 50% Chinese. So there is a real point to be made here for a infiltration of Chinese can't think of the word. Chinese agendas, Chinese goals, Chinese motives in the Canadian government. So again, I ask, is this snap election something to do with this? Maybe. I don't know. I'm looking for you guys' speculations as well as my own. Speaking of secret operations, between 1949 and 1969, the U.S. Army conducted 239 secret bacterial warfare tests in various cities across the country. While this seems like another one of those crazy conspiracies, it's true. Details about a few of the actual tests have since been made available through lawsuits and Freedom of Information Acts. Although documents describing open-air testing have been particularly censored by the military, they indicate that one of the Army's chief goals was to conduct experiments without raising suspicion among exposed populations. Right here. It was also discovered that pneumonia and influenza case tripled during this time as well. I mean, this bio warfare, even on our own people, is not something that governments have been afraid to do. You wonder how far it's gone? If what we're seeing now is an accidental going too far of one of these experiments? They did these at population centers. Simulations took place at airports, turnpikes, bus stations, subways. The airport mock attack test was initiated by carrying briefcases around the terminal as they sprayed bacteria. In the subway, light bulbs filled with Bacillus subtilis were dropped to spread the bacteria. I mean, They've got ways that they can easily spread and start outbreaks of anything. I'm just saying. Not going to draw lots of connections that are obvious to our current predicaments and times, because that's when you get taken down. Back to the U.S. government. We're going to get into Afghanistan now. I mean, something that's happening here. Biden's meeting room clocks show incorrect time difference between London and Moscow, puzzling Twitter users. The White House released a photo Sunday of it sitting in the Camp David conference room while discussing the ongoing situation in Afghanistan virtually with others, including Vice President Kamala and the CIA. Note the time on London and Moscow clocks. The clocks show 3-hour time difference. However, there is currently a 2-hour difference. But before March, London and Moscow have a 3-hour time difference because of daylight savings. Is this a stock photo? Is this something that they already had in place? Because before March, that was correct. Now it is not. Even if you take it as a current photograph, my question being, Joe Biden's not the one doing these things. Joe Biden's not the person that gave himself the notes on 350 million people have been vaccinated in the U.S. Joe Biden is surrounded by a team that you, at least to my understanding, is supposed to be, taking care of his bits and pieces. Why are those people, that giant team around a president, why are they getting so much wrong? Why are they being made to make him look so incompetent right now? They're not helping his case for his old age, I just wonder if this is not a systematic ousting, 25th Amendment style. And now, moving on to the thing everyone in the world is talking about, Afghanistan collapse. Did the U.S. get it wrong? Panic Afghans watched Taliban fighters roll into the capital city of Kabul Sunday. I found it interesting that early in the last week, you heard the U.S. Embassy saying that they were expecting people to be in the city of Kabul by Sunday. And then it happened. I mean, you have to ask, if this was so easy for Kabul to fall, what were we doing there the last 20 years? We were guarding poppy fields. We were guarding huge mineral wealth deposits discovered. We were guarding lots of self-interest things for the U.S., but it doesn't seem like we were actually helping the Afghanistan people and preparing them for exactly this. I also, of course, find it interesting that the people that the Taliban makes money from and with, outside donations, foreign, entities, drug smuggling, opiate farming. I mean, it's really, really funny to me that the lobbyists and the people that are telling us, oh no, it's such a bad thing that the Taliban took over, they're kind of the people that the Taliban does the most business with. I'm just saying. And I'll leave it at that. Also interesting to me is the way that China has accepted the Taliban as governmental entity. Since then, China's propaganda machine has quietly been preparing its people to accept the increasingly likelihood scenario that Beijing will recognize the Taliban. Even if they can't control the whole country, they would still be a significant force to be reckoned with. The Taliban may have been a CIA-incepted regime, but they certainly seem to have the backing, if not funding, of the Chinese powerhouse at this time, right? I see no reason that this won't continue, that the Taliban will not establish itself further and further. I mean, they were in the presidential palace Sunday. They were holding PR conferences. They were holding Western media outlet televised conferences. They were speaking to the world. Why is that's not, at least in traditional terms, the insurrection that you all think of? Seems approved to me. Seems A-okayed by whoever makes those decisions. Otherwise, those kinds of Press conferences wouldn't happen. Those kind of casual... I mean, the way they were sitting in that presidential palace, it looked the same kind of insurrection that we had on January 6th in this country, did it not? I'm just saying. It was all very casual. As much craziness as was going on at the airport, and we're told that the U.S. has regained control of the airport, I'm not sure. Of course, I'm not in the region. I have nothing with eyes on. I wonder where all of this is going, where all this is brewing toward, and I wonder why the American people are, honest to God, so calm in their own country when every single other country seems to be taking actionable moves, right? It's just something for y'all to think about. Have a great day. I'll be uploading an interview shortly. We'll see y'all tomorrow.